From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening and thank you for joining us. I'm Daryl Clark. Stephanie Woodard has the evening off. Our top story this evening, United States Coast Guard and Culloch response team plan to conduct air operations and overflights of the Culloch oil rig grounded off Sikadilak Island. Two CH-47 or Chinook model helicopters from Fort Wainwright have been sent out in an effort to aid in air operations. The helicopters are from Bravo Company 152 with the 16th Combat Aviation Brigade and left this morning to touch down at Elmendorf Air Force before making their way to the site. Once there is enough daylight, air operations will perform overflight deck assessments to determine current conditions at the Culloch rig. Another scheduled overflight will evaluate wildlife in the vicinity. The News Center spoke to the Culloch response team about the Fort Wainwright helicopters that left this morning.
The Culloch response Unified Command made a request to the Department of Defense and basically asked for some assistance with a couple of their helicopters. They're going to be using or doing sling loading, the sling loading equipment for the response. At this point, there's about 18 aircraft that are supporting the Culloch response. And, this is just one of many options that, as far as when we're looking at different things that we can use and different resources, it's always good to just have every option on the table.
Officials at Fort Wainwright say the decision has been made to keep the ice rink as is at the Physical Fitness Center on Fort Wainwright. Garrison Commander Colonel Ron Johnson said they have decided not to go forward with the plan to repurpose the ice rink for now. He said the idea will, however, remain on the table for future consideration. Input was sought from the military and civilian communities, along with a special survey to identify unit commander needs. There were about 1,200 responses to the survey, the greatest response to any survey they have done in the past 4 years. If federal prosecutors have their say, the leader of the 2-for-1 militia will be in jail until his mid-60s. Prosecutors are recommending a 35-year sentence for Schaefer Cox, who was convicted in June of conspiring to collect weapons and plotting to kill law enforcement officials. A judge is scheduled to sentence Cox at a hearing in federal court on Tuesday. Cox's attorney says he is recommending only a 10-year prison term. The 28-year-old man, Lonnie Vernon and Coleman Barney, were all charged, but only Cox and Vernon were convicted of the most serious of federal charges. Earmarked dollars for a project in Alaska that was attached to a Hurricane Sandy relief package has gotten the ire of a member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Congressman Darrell Issa of California criticized the House version of the Sandy relief aid earlier before the turn of the new year by claiming the package was packed with pork, referring to allocated dollars that did not appear to have anything to do with Hurricane Sandy relief. Now, one allocation was $150 million for Alaska fish hatcheries. Issa has said the pork-laden legislation would not receive his support due to the inclusion of projects outside the relief aid. Representative Peter King, however, of New York, during a CNN television interview, said his colleague is dead wrong for making the assertion.
There is absolutely no pork in the bill. There were some items that were added to the Senate involving Alaska, for one, which is about less than 1% of the bill. Even though it was only 1% of the bill, every one of those items was removed from the House bill.
A revised version of the relief aid legislation will be before the U.S. House within the next 2 weeks. Jury selection was scheduled to begin today in Fairbanks Superior Court for the case of 56-year-old Fairbanks man Arthur Augustine. Augustine, who is charged with 2 counts of first-degree sexual abuse of a minor as well as 2 counts of second-degree child sexual abuse. According to Alaska State Troopers, their investigation began when they received a report of possible abuse from the Office of Children's Services. Court records say both girls have given accounts stating Augustine touched them inappropriately and made them touch him when visiting his home on the weekends. Augustine was convicted of sexual abuse of a minor in the early 1980s. The News Center will have more of this story as information becomes available. And when we come back, Senator Mark Begich is assigned to a powerful committee. Also, a look at upcoming job trends. Those stories next. Stay with us.
This edition of the Fbx Evening News is brought to you by Northland Hearing Services, better hearing with a human touch. Kendall Auto of Fairbanks. And by Nissan, innovation that excites.
And welcome back. Senator Mark Begich today secured a seat on the influential Senate Appropriations Committee. Begich learned Friday that he would get the seat due to the vacancy left by the death of Hawaii Senator Daniel Inouye in late December. Due to Senate rules, Begich will leave the Senate Armed Services Committee to take the Appropriations Committee assignment. He has been an outspoken advocate to keep Eielson Air Force Base operating and to keep the F-16 Aggressor Squadron located there. Although he will have a lot of power on the Appropriations Committee, there have been concerns expressed about him leaving the Armed Services Committee.
But this is a huge, I think, complementary now. Groups like the Pentagon and others will see two Alaskans on appropriations that control the purse strings of the Pentagon. I think that does have an enormous influence on the outcome of many things, not only Eielson, but future investments of military personnel and equipment and other things for Alaska.
The State Department of Labor has released a preview of what the new year is expected to bring in an article in its Trends magazine. Although Alaska fared better through the past 5 years than most of the rest of the country, we have not been untouched by the forces that rock the national economy. Employment has continued to grow throughout the state in key categories such as health care. The state added 5,300 jobs in 2012 as total employment grew 1.6%, and they expect 4,200 new jobs in 2013, a modest growth of 1.2%. However, there are still unanswered questions because Alaska remains dependent on oil and gas production for the majority of state revenue. The double-edged sword of high oil prices has softened the hit from continuing decline, but in 2011, the amount of oil flowing through the Trans-Alaska Oil Pipeline was the lowest since the first full year of production. A new nonprofit organization will open its doors tonight during the first Friday of the year. Dragonfly Wings Incorporated pledges to assist cancer patients both therapeutically and financially. The director, Erica Sudds, is a cancer patient herself and started Dragonfly Wings as a way to help other patients and provide a way for the community to give back.
They can help us by buying the art in the gallery. They can help by donating pieces for the gallery. They can help by donating services, massage, acupuncture, chiropractic care, whatever. This is a way for me to raise funds to help people pay those bills, or pay to go to Seattle for their care, or pay to go to Anchorage for their care.
Another inaugural First Friday event today at the corner of Well and Good Streets on Phillips Field Road. The Projection Bomb art project called Fbx Bomb will use interaction with Fairbanks residents to create a new kind of art. Interesting. Well, speaking of interesting, a local paranormal research team is organizing a charity event to benefit the Breast Cancer Detection Center of Alaska. Seekers of Paranormal in History, or SOPA, has announced their first ever Para-Raiser to be held Saturday, January 26th at the Mushers Hall. SOPA officials say they are hoping the rise in popularity of paranormal research will help bring in the crowd for their event, which they hope to hold every year for different nonprofits in the community. The event will feature guest speakers, prizes, food, and paranormal tools and equipment for attendees to use during the event. SOPA founder Ryan French says the day will be an all-ages friendly event and all are invited.
We hope that everybody will come, whether you're a skeptic, whether you're a believer, you want to believe, but you're not sure, because the whole purpose of it is not really the paranormal factor of it. The purpose of it is to raise money for the Breast Cancer Detection Center. That's our sole purpose. So even if you don't really care for the paranormal, you're not that big into it, at least come out and show your support for the Breast Cancer Detection Center, because to us, that's the biggest thing.
SOPA Paranormal Research consists of only 8 members. They are seeking volunteers to help them with their Breast Cancer Detection Center fundraiser. Now, if interested, you can contact SOPA at their email, northernmostparanormal@yahoo.com, or call them at area code 210-275-7984. Well, Fairbanks police have forwarded charges to the district attorney's office in connection with a wreck earlier this week in downtown Fairbanks. Police say the 29-year-old driver was going too fast, slid through the intersection at First and Cowles, and landed on the Chena River ice. Now, if charged, the driver could be ordered to pay for damage caused by the crash, including a bench end section of the fence. All right, Joe Cook, what's going on in sports this evening?
Oh, man, we got a lot of stuff going on. In fact, we have a recap of day one of the Mount McKinley Bank Holiday Classic, and then the basketball teams, they took the court in their first games of the new year. We'll see how they did. We'll have that and more in sports.
Brought to you by the Law Office of Rita T. Alley. Peace of mind through professional legal services.
Hello, Interior Alaska. Joe Cook here in the sports seat for you. Another TGIF, and we have a lot to talk about in sports, so let's get started. It's basketball time, and the first day of the Mount McKinley Holiday Classic at Boileau Hall was a good one as the game of the night lived up to the hype. But before we get to that, let's see what else went down in girls basketball. The Monroe Lady Rams fell to Colony Knights 53-32. The Knights had Faith Harris scored a game-high 16 points, leading 3 Knights in double figures. It was 19-16 after 1, and Colony held the Rams to 21 points in 3 quarters, but Alexis Guevara led the Rams with 10 points. In the first boys contest, Colony played the Nome Nanooks. It was a game at halftime with Colony up 26-21. Then the Knights put on the clamps, allowing just 9 points against Nome in the second half, and Colony had a 20-point third quarter en route to a 61-30 win. Damian Fulp had a game-high 14 for Colony, with 2 others in double figures for the Knights. Now Monroe versus Lathrop. Lathrop started this game strong, jumping out to a 12-5 lead. Trayvon Washington, the little guy with the big man game. See the hook shot there. Washington led the Malamutes with 14 points. Lathrop led 12-11 at the end of the first. It was just the second time this season Monroe trailed after the first quarter, but the Rams ended the first with some momentum, and it carried over into the second with a 16-4 run led by Scooter Bynum. Look at this move right here. He erupted for 8 points in the second quarter, but the Malamutes responded, cutting a 9-point deficit down to 5, 45-40, with about 3 minutes to go. They also would force a turnover, but once again, Scooter Bynum, man, he was just real. He would take the ball right back with the steal and came away with the emphatic dunk. The Rams hold off Lathrop 53-44. Bynum had a game-high 16 points, and his point guard David Stepovich added 15 points and talked about that second quarter run.
Some shots. We actually hit some threes, and Jalen hit a couple shots, and we ran some of our plays and that we could execute. We didn't really execute in the first quarter. It's hard, you know. They're athletic, and we play as a team. And if someone's down, everyone else brings everybody up, and we all play together.
In other tournaments, North Pole Patriots basketball teams were in the 46 Joe Floyd era Aviation Winter Classic basketball tournament. Last night, the boys team faced the host Kodiak Bears, and the Patriots couldn't get things going against a tough Bear defense. Kodiak hit some shots. They were active on the glass early in this one. North Pole's Anthony Gibson, he would hit a 3, but his Patriots were still down 16-7 in the first quarter. Kodiak held North Pole to single-digit scoring in all 4 quarters, and they were rolled to win 63-27. On the girls' side, the Lady Patriots took care of business. They faced Kotzebue and rolled to a 55-42 win. Willow Stewart had 14 points, leading 3 Patriots in double figures. Patriots showed some scoring versatility, not scoring a 3 in this game, and they have Josie Broderick. Go figure. Their next opponent is Juno Douglas. Now, both Hutchinson basketball teams came into the new year undefeated, but that would change. The Hutchinson boys team fell for the first time this year in a classic, the final, a 79-77 loss in double overtime in the ACS Pepsi Invitational to the Houston Hawks. Darren Silas scored a season-high 43 points, 12 rebounds, and 8 steals. Just a monster game. John Morgan added 17 points and 6 boards. The Lady Hawks continued their winning ways with a 55-45 victory over the Bethel Warriors. Mimi Wood did it again, scoring 20 points, 10 in the third quarter alone. Vanessa Hastings and Allison Yingling at 11 and 10 points for the Hutch, who is 6-0 right now. For the women's basketball, let's go up the hill as the Nanics were hosting the number 9 Clan of Simon Fraser. The Clan started the game on a 7-0 run, but the Nanics made it a game 10-7 with an and one by Taylor Altenberg, who finished with 9 points and a career-high 5 steals. Simon Fraser, they went on a run thanks to the hot shooting Christina Collins hitting 4 threes in the first half. She finished with 14 points. The Nanics forced 31 turnovers, but the Clan were too much, and they never trailed in their 7th straight win, 71-56. Nayo Rancock-Acunye had 23 points and 16 boards for the Clan. Jacqueline Lovato led the Nanics with 15 points and 8 rebounds. Now the Nooks will host Western Washington this Saturday. The Nanics men's basketball team is ringing in the new year with a huge road victory over the Central Washington Wildcats. 82-75 was the final. This win was the 3rd time ever that the Nanics won in Central Washington, and it also stops a 17-game road losing streak. Pat Voot was hot, leading the Nooks with 25 points, going 10 of 13 from the field. Dominic Brinson added 14 as well. The Nanics are now 7-4 overall and 2-1 in the GNAC. Now the Nooks will travel to Northwest Nazarene to take the Crusaders, who are also coming off a huge win over the 25th-ranked Anchorage Seawolves. And finally tonight, a reminder for the KTVF playoff pick'em. The NFL playoffs are set, and if you pick the right winners all the way up into the Super Bowl, you will receive a special gift from KTVF for the big game. Submit your picks to my email, joecook@ktvf11.com. You can tweet me at KTVFJoeCook or KTVF11 Sports. Pick the correct teams to win the wild card games, the divisional rounds, and the conference championships. The person with the correct picks and the best overall record will win the prize. Get in your picks before kickoff this Saturday to be eligible, so you still have some time. Go on webcenter11.com/sports for more info. And that does it for sports tonight. Thanks for rocking with me for a little while. Catch more of KTVF Sports on webcenter11.com, Twitter, and YouTube. Stay cool, Alaska. Your full weather forecast is coming up next, and we'll catch you next time.
Well, guys, I would have been here last night, except I got that bug that's going around town.
Yeah,
I got
tell me about it.
Sore throat and a cough. I'm getting better now.
All right.
But hopefully you guys won't get it. Believe me, it's not very comfortable.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see you moving away.
All right.
At least the weather's working out pretty good. Joe, you're enjoying it pretty good, right?
Yeah, I've noticed the difference between 5 above and like 52 below. I never thought I could say that, but yeah, I noticed the difference.
Well, out at the airport right now, we're at 7 degrees above after a high of 9 above, the low 0 last night. A record high, 1977, got up to 40 above that day. In 1975, down to 56 below. Now, the sunrise this morning was at 10:50. The sun set this afternoon at 3:05, which gives us 4 hours and 15 minutes of daylight, and that's a gain of 4 minutes from yesterday. Here's our photograph tonight. We will share this with you, sent in by Debbie Dickman, and she was at the spectacular fireworks out on the West Ridge, and beautiful fireworks shot there. One of many she sent me. Again, if you have a photograph to share, send it to Mike Schultz at KTVF11.com. Here's what's going on across the stage. You can see once again we have more clouds moving up from the south, which means the mild temperatures will continue. As long as the winds come out of the south, we're looking pretty good. Lots of clouds, but most of it's going to be blocked out by the Alaska Range once again. Out to the west, skies are for the most part clear to partly cloudy. And on our map today, as you can see once again, we're looking at clouds over southeast Alaska, across the Gulf of Alaska, down along the Aleutian Chain, some snow around the Cold Bay area, up and down the west coast, a little bit of light snow being reported in the Nome area, and a little bit heavier snow at the Barrow area, 9 degrees there. Partly cloudy skies at Fort Yukon, 13 below 0. Lower 48 weather, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. We want to once again remind you we have an air quality index in effect for Fairbanks. Moderate conditions for Fairbanks, and North Pole is still unhealthy. This is until 5 o'clock tomorrow night, so keep that in mind if you have respiratory problems like I have right now, and keep the kids out from outside if you can for a while. Here's what's going on the lower 48. We'll head on down there and show you we have showers once again over the Pacific Northwest, nice over the Southwest, pretty good over the Central Plains. A little bit of shower activity over the Southeast and the South sections of the states. Lower 48 weather on the satellite and radar. A little bit of energy moving across Texas. Yesterday, El Paso, Texas, 4 inches of snow. How about that? Over the Northeast, a little bit of activity too. Now, the overall picture is calling for the snow to end over the western sections of Texas. More rain across the deep south, and the overall jet stream next week will be moving once again to the north. bringing rain possibilities over Texas and windy and much colder temperatures over the northern plains. Back to Alaska for tomorrow. In the northern sections, blowing snow for Barrow, scattered snow for Nome, and snow showers expected at Fort Yukon, 5 below at Fort Yukon tomorrow. Here in the interior, looking at mostly cloudy skies for Fairbanks, scattered clouds at Healy and Denali Park. Over the southeast, mixed showers for Juneau, rain showers for Ketchikan. And over the southwest part of the state, we'll be looking at snow in Bethel and rain and snow for Cold Bay, rainy at Kodiak Island. But once again, we have time for our kids' weather. And this week, we've been talking about weather facts. In tonight's weather fact, in 1994, more than 2 feet of snow fell over northwestern sections of Pennsylvania. Again, thanks to Mount McKinley Bank. And next week, we'll begin once again with the kids from North Pole Elementary. Will be our guest for the week of January 9th. It's a Friday night. It's time for our winter trails report. Mild temperatures mean great conditions for outdoor activities. Ski slopes should be open, and trails should be perfect for snow machines and cross-country skiers. And last night we had road conditions, but we were supposed to have a road conditions. We have those tonight. As you can see, for the most part, snow removal equipment on the higher elevations, gusty winds near Delta, icy roads, and some drifting snow around the park's highway. Keep that in mind. Here's your forecast for tonight. 7 below, a little bit colder with continued high clouds. Tomorrow's forecast, 6 above, scattered high clouds, otherwise no change. And the extended forecast looking pretty good. Again, you're looking at temperatures right around the 0 to 5 below mark for our daytime highs, warming up again by the latter part of the 5-day period. No precipitation in the forecast. And again, we're looking at temperatures to continue to be much warmer than they should be this time of year, because Daryl, you and I know they can get down to 30 and 40 below easily this time of year in January.
Definitely, and you know what I've noticed is a ton of moose.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've just been everywhere lately.
Yep, a lot of moose.
Watch out for that, Joe. I mean,
Actually,
especially if you're
I had a moose encounter a couple weeks
ago.
ago.
Oh, did you? All right, I want to see that footage. All right, very cool. All right, guys, well, that will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us. Now, tonight on NBC Nightly News, the flu spike coast to coast. Mike, what it means for you in this year's flu season, that is next with Brian Williams.
Join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
And that will do it from all of us here at the News Center. Have a great weekend, everyone. We'll see you back here again Monday.